each taken a day or two off of your work for your business and the impact that that has. You've traveled here at your own expense, and we really appreciate the effort that you've put into being here today. It's helping us greatly as we work through this very important issue of whether or not to delay the highway bill as we're talking about, which none of us support. And it helps us to have a face with this issue with each one of you and your businesses and how it's going to directly impact. So thanks to each one of you. We're going to do 2 rounds of questions. Each of us, including myself, will have 5 minutes each, and then we'll go through twice, just for planning purposes. I'm going to open it with Mr. Mills, and in many respects it's advantageous for the government to contract with the smaller firms. Small local businesses can get to work quickly, they can access the labor market, and are often more innovative. What advantages do you feel that small business contractors offer the government?
One is that we're a little bit more competitive. We have smaller overhead than the large corporations. If there is a change in the type of work that the DOTs are letting, we can make the change overnight where the larger corporations aren't able to do that.
Thank you. For Mr. Ross, deteriorating road conditions are a significant cause of motor vehicle accidents, as you pointed out. So in the context of what we try to accomplish with the highway bill, which many people think is rebuilding our roads and bridges, crumbling infrastructure, which is critically important, certainly in Pennsylvania and around the country, but what are the key steps that Congress can take in the highway bill specifically to improve road safety?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for that question. As you may know, ATSA has put forward a Towards Zero Deaths, what we call a reauthorization or an authorization policy. There are significant initiatives laid out in there. One of them is to increase funding for high-risk rural roads. An inordinate percentage of the highway deaths that occur on rural roads. And yet the investment in low-cost safety solutions can be increased dramatically and can affect those fatalities. One of the emerging issues also is the specific funding of older driver programs. The safety loop provided for the program but didn't fund it. And we need to recognize that a greater and greater portion of the driving public is getting a little bit older and have needs that may go beyond some of the features that we're currently providing, such as sign size, the ability to see the signs as far as fonts and letter size and retroreflective materials and things of that sort. So those are just 2 right off the top of my head.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, the American Institute of Architects Moving Communities Forward study found that investing in transportation upgrades creates increased commercial activity. Can you elaborate from your testimony on the nature of the study and what were the key driving factors in boosting this type of business activity?
Well, there are a number of things that are happening, both when that study was authored and continuing today, particularly with the investment in multimodal transit in urban regions, both in cities and in the sort of first-tier suburbs. When you invest in the sort of multimodal platform for bringing buses, light rail, transit, bike, walking together, it is all of the DNA you need to build a great integrated community that has amenities, has multiple uses, has synergy there where people are attracted to live and work. We're in that phase in this country where there's an enormous move back to urban mixed-use centers. I mean, the Gen Yers coming out of school where the opportunities are, it's a huge magnet. When you invest in the transportation infrastructure that connects people to jobs, as you can see in this region particularly, it is like a lightning rod for private sector investment around that. And I think it makes it easier on the funding side, because then you really do get we find you get a lot of private activity to complement the public investment. So that's a continuing theme. We see it all across the country in relatively a large variety of scales, from sort of small towns to large cities.
Thank you. I will now conclude and recognize Ranking Member Fallon.